Hello and welcome to another Sci Fi Creepypasta with me, Zero Option. If you like what I do, please hit that sub and like button and leave a comment down below. With all of that out of the way, let's read Immortality by Matthew Banks. Here I am. I've made it all the way to the end. I've always said I would. I told them I would outlive the universe. I was born human, so long ago that the memory's nothing more than a faint impression. A whisper. I lived and loved. Of that I'm fairly certain. But now it is all forgotten. Most of my life is forgotten. 1,000,000,000,000 years is to my lifetime as a bacterium is to a planet. All of that time, most of it dark. All of it lonely. We wanted to be immortal. We always had. The individual rejects death, fights death. Darwinian programming as it turns out. The longer you live, the more you can mate, in theoretical terms. I'm the perfection of the organism, but in real terms, I'm useless. I have never reproduced, even when I had a real body. In reality, I'm a failure. That thought has been echoing through my mind for eons. I lived in an age when the dream of immortality could be realized, and it was. I was a savant among immortals. I wanted it more than any of them. I longed for it more purely, and I would have it at any price. We multiplied, and without death, we grew crowded. Even without physical bodies, there were too many of us. There were trillions of us, each centuries old, each enormous, and we ran out of room. The old dilemma, competition for limited resources. We had hoped it would never rear its head again. The first to die did so by choice. They felt they had finally lived long enough, and that the ambitions that drove them towards immortality had finally been fulfilled, and that they could walk into that darkness satisfied. They had exhausted every pleasure and desire. 9/10 of us went that way. The rest expanded to fill the available space, and the dilemma returned again. That is when we started to fight, to consume each other. I was the victor. It couldn't have turned out any other way. I wanted it more than any of them. And I wanted more than that. I wanted to expand. I wanted to be huge. I ate the earth, the moon, the planets, the asteroids, and the sun. In 1,000,000,000 years, I ate the galaxy. In 30 billion years, I had eaten what humans had once called the visible universe, and I was spreading at nearly the speed of light, a gigantic, nebulous octopus. Throwing tentacles across the stars, I ate everything. In my colossal brain, I thought every thought that could be thought, and lived every experience that could be lived. In essence, I replayed the entire history of the universe, and then the history of every universe that ever could and had been. There were no gods until I was born, and now there are no gods again, for I am silent. There is nothing to speak about. Eventually, I stopped eating and watched the universe expand, watched the last stars fade into darkness, watched the dark galaxies crash into one another and then unravel, watched as the last faint tremor of starlight was red-shifted into invisibility, and the last star froze into ice. Now the universe is stretching itself thin, space-time itself is tearing, the abyss and impossibility spilling through the rips. I know how the story ends. The new universe will well up through the cracks in the old one, and I will be obliterated. But I am at peace in my lonely exile. I have outlived the universe.